Well, good morning to y'all. It's your old Grandpaw Koyote coming to you once again here from where? Crestone, Colorado, USA. Here on the planet Mother Earth, neath the Father's sky, merging the realities, merging the experience of all into one tiny little being. And in one tiny little being do we find the presence of all. And that being would you be you as well as me. It's the same person inside each of us in that way. Though each has their own personal aspect of it to apply here. That means personality. And a lot of folks worry about, fear is in everything. A lot of folks worry about, letting go of the personality. They're strongly individualistic. Hell, I'd be one of them in a way. Because I believe in the person and the personality. I believes, baby. But it's really like, you enhance the person that you are when you see the bigger person, when you see the bigger picture, when you know your place in it and can accept that lovingly. You don't lose your individuality. You lose the fierceness. You lose the fear of being alone. God, if there's one thing all my years of truck driving taught me, that was not to be afraid of being alone. It wasn't just truck driving. It started out as a little kid. I'd take my horse up into the mountains and sit around up there just as alone can be, yet surrounded by life. I was never alone. I caught that one on early on. And I learned how to, I need a sip of coffee here. And I learned how to dream when I was alone. And how to try and make things better in my life. When I was a kid, I wasn't very good at it. As I got a little older, I learned some things. Some things you just never quite catch on to. There's all these little glitches in life, and it varies according to your person and personality. About where you're going to fit in, or how you're going to fit in, or if you're going to fit in, because a lot of folks just don't. A lot of us feel like strangers in a strange land because we just don't seem to fit this cosmic mix called humanity, yet we're as human can be. But I'll tell you, being alone, being comfortable with yourself, not being afraid to be alone. I'd say a good 50% of our population fears themselves, fears being alone, fears what might happen when they're alone. Yet, look at how much of your time you spend alone, no matter how you live or who you are. There's just a certain amount of time you're going to be alone. It's just the way it is. And it's really sweet when you can get comfortable inside of yourself and notice the fear. And embrace it. And say inside of yourself, well then, help me find the love that I need to bring me back to life. Help me see what I'm afraid of. And when you go into your fear, what do you find? Pain. Pain is the basis of all fear. And everyone carries pain. If you're more than 30 or 40 seconds old, there it is. And in fact, when you're being born, there's a lot of pain involved too. Pain has been the reality of our existence. What's pain? Well, it's a conflict. You feel alone. You feel cut off, separate, first from your mother as you're born, and then from the larger life, the Great Spirit, if you will. And a good share of your life is spent putting it back together, bringing it all into this one little person that you are, so that you can overcome the fear and never be controlled again by anyone or anything other than the sweetheart inside of yourself. That's what we're looking for. That's what everybody wants. Now, what's happened in this reality? Well, start with the presumption that most folks are afraid to be alone. Okay. So the biggest craving you have is to reconnect with the mother energy. It's a deep thing, It starts with that first pain when you're being born, The feeling of separation. Now, like I said, when I was a little kid, I'd go up there and sit around on those mountains. Didn't always take my horse. Sometimes I went on foot. You just go there whatever way you can. But also when I'm out there driving those farm tractors in the fields, going round and around in those big circles, getting the land ready to plant or whatever. It's the same thing. You're out there all alone, yet you're not. You're surrounded by seagulls, for one thing, that want to get all the worms that you turn up behind you. And then there's all this life everywhere, especially out in the farm fields, and up on the mountains. And you start realizing there's bigger things in life. When you're a kid, you think you're just dreaming it, but then you start to realize that wasn't just a dream. It had such a great influence on you. You know what I mean? You learn quite naturally, and it's subconscious again, to live with the animals, the wild animals. For example, one time I'm going around the mountain on old Betsy, our old reliable Shetland. God, she was a beautiful lady. I tell you, that was one fine piece of horse flesh. But I'm going around the mountain on her. I'm about 5 years old. I'm up there in Spring Creek. And just taking this little trail that gradually climbs the mountain like that, And I hear some gravel loosening up behind me, and I look around. I see a little flash of yellow on the hill up above me there, maybe 50 yards. And I know I'm being tracked by a cougar. And of course, first thing you feel is little kid fear. And then you hear the gravel, you see the flashes a few more times, and the thing's just following you, that nothing's going to happen. It's curious. It wants to know what you and old Betsy are up to. You've invaded its turf. And it just wants to see what you're going to do with it. That's all. And that's why it comes there. The rest of life, the little horny toads, the little lizards, the rattlesnakes, the blow snakes, the birds, all come around to see what you're doing. They want to follow you. Then there was another time, many years after that, where I'd gone and done a little tuning in on the night of an eclipse up on top of a mountain. And of course it was a phenomenal experience. Babies, when you can open up and do things like that, you go to incredible places. Well, I'd really been to some incredible places that night. And as I come walking off that mountain, here's all the deer within a few feet of me, walking with me. The birds are flying real close and hanging out. The chipmunks and squirrels and rabbits all come out. The foxes and other things, lots of life. We're just walking down this grassy old mountain with me, this forested mountain with big trees. I had to get down a ways. I wanted to watch the sunrise. And they kind of all went there with me. I felt like Uncle Remus in that old cartoon. See, you're never alone. And it's not very often the animal kingdom will reveal itself to you like that in the past because of the fear that we've planted in them of ourselves. Because generally speaking, when they see you, you see them, somebody's going to die. And that's crazy. And we don't have to live like that. And there are times you can overcome that fear in the animals. Just by realizing the connection with Source inside of yourself, with Great Spirit. Just by feeling that love, you can bring the animals out of their hiding places. Because they're all watching you. They're curious. They want to see what you're up to. They want to know who you're doing and what you're doing and all that good stuff, Some of the animals and birds especially, are watchers. Many of them are angels. Just come to watch over us, to see how we're doing. See, so in this life, you're never truthfully alone, even in this three-dimensional thing where you cannot see angels and ancestors and other helpers that are with you, or very rarely see them. You see how that works? You're never alone. There's nothing to fear. You're bonded, attached to all life. Nothing is separate from you. We live in that place, inside, I mean, you get yourself out in the mountains, you get a little campfire going at night, provided it's not fire season. And lay back, lean up, look at the stars. You can just feel it. It just flows through you, comes out of the sky, right down into your little body, right into the earth, out of the earth into your little body, right into the sky. You see, we're harbingers of energy as human beings. We're pretty critical here. That's why so much life is interested in us, is watching us and recording our moments right along with us. Even when you're driving in your car, you got the stereo turned up loud, and you're oblivious to all life around you. You're still connected to it, interconnected. It's a weave, it's a rug that we live in, a huge tapestry. And there's no separating from it. So, you give yourself your alone time, and you get comfortable inside of yourself. See, this is why I keep encouraging you to get off by yourself. Because then you realize how unalone you are. The Spirit comes and fills you, and you start to see angels and ancestors and things like this. You start to receive beneficial blessings, awakenings, consciousness. You come back to feel inside of yourself who you really are. And what an elemental person in this reality you've become. And that you were born to be, because you were that when you were born. You can remember this. Spend this time alone. Get out in nature where you can. If you're in the city, go to a park. One that's safe, of course, but just do what you can, you know. Get yourself as close to nature as you can. Just you don't have to go out there and grovel in it and wade in the mud and get out naked and, you know, cover it up. I mean, you don't have to do all that craziness, but you can do that too. It helps sometimes. But all you got to do is be there. Just lean against the tree for a little while. Hug the tree if you're feeling like it, if that tree calls to you. You know, just spend a little time there. Focus here and here and here. And just go there. You'd be surprised, despite all the fear-mongering going on around you, and how bad times are, and how the economy's crashing, the government's crashing, the earth is falling in on itself. We're one breath away from World War III. You'd be surprised how peaceful it really is here when you can connect with the life that surrounds you, as well as that which flows through your inside, that which is you. You little harbinger of energy. You're a harbor, a safe harbor for all the energies in this universe. That's why humans have such great endurance. That's why we can go through such dark and ugly times and such hard and trying experiences. Because at the basis of it all, we're the most loving beings the universe has ever produced. We have that essential peace. And in your quiet moments alone, that's when you begin to tune into it. Even if you're on a smoky old tractor going through a field, kicking up the dust and turning over the earth. Or in a big old semi-trailer truck hauling ass down the highway. It don't matter. Airplane flying overhead. Got to train yourself, get out of that jet lag, but yeah. You get in the flow, and then you know. It's really as simple as that. So now when you sit down and you get calm and quiet, notice all the little fears that come up. Oh, I won't get that blessing because I did this, and I won't get that one because I did that. Don't listen to that stuff. Just let it flow by. Love it. It's entertainment. This self-judgment has been so programmed into us, babies. Oh, so programmed into us. Just love it. And let it go by. Release it. Don't hang on to it. Don't get lost in the self-criticism and the doubt that goes with it. See who you truly are. Attach. See that attachment to all life. See that connecting thread, which is everything and everybody. And you begin to understand life from a different perspective. It doesn't mean you're still not going to draw borders and boundaries with people and things that are disagreeable to you. But this means you're going to be a whole lot more reasonable about that kind of stuff. And eventually, you'll get over it because you won't have to draw these barriers or boundaries anymore, because people will quite naturally gravitate to you when you're in a peaceful place that want to be peaceful, and those that don't want to be peaceful will be quite naturally repelled, but at the same time receive the blessing of your love, or that love that's flowing through you that you can identify with personally, and it affects them too. And ultimately we all heal because of it, meaning we all come out of the fear. Be alone. There's nothing to be afraid of, because you're never alone. You've got the greatest protection that any life has ever provided in every moment that you live. And you don't need guns and swords and knives and weaponry. You don't even need an angry attitude. What you need is to be what you are. That's what we are. Love. Radiant love. Meant to expand so greatly that our love touches everything that lives, and everything that lives touches in our love. And we become the universal harmony once again. The greatest rock symphony ever played. And babies, it's a wild one. Maybe it'll play for you today inside of your heart. Maybe we'll play it for you inside of your heart. The angels and I. Because it's time that the people heard this song. So be listening. You hear a little something off in the distance. Might even be kind of aggravating at first because it doesn't seem to want to go away. And it'll be when you're in one of those quiet alone moments, maybe sitting in your car, sipping on a rum and cola. You fool, don't do that, it's illegal. And you'll hear it, and then you'll tune into it, and babies, you won't believe it. Yet, you'll be right there in the middle of it. This is how we create. We sing it into being. One time, this old man was journeying, doing a little tripping up in the mountains of southern Oregon in a friend's tree house. Oh, beautiful place. Guys, you can't believe it. I've been so blessed. I've been so many beautiful places in my time, and that was one of them. And so I'm taking a little journey with a little encouragement from nature. And I go right to the center of the universe. And there I see this person sitting in the throne. Now, of course, this is all metaphorical, but it's beautiful. And that chair is slowly turning towards me. And as it gets sideways, I can see this person sitting in the throne and opens his mouth like sweet thunder. The voice comes forward. And as that does, creation is formed in that voice. It's like the most beautiful symphony with great, deep bass tones. You're just thundering. You know, it's amazing, guys. That's how we create. We sing it into being. That's who we are. That's what it's all about. It ain't about World War III. It ain't about ending it unnaturally, rounding up all the people and putting them in. How foolish for people to even think such thoughts and prepare for such things. Do you know, right here in the U.S., our own government has bought guillotines. They're getting ready for public executions again. Some really nasty stuff. It could really make you afraid. But you know what? Don't give them the unruly crowds to fight with. Help them to see. Let's sweeten them all up naturally. Yeah, get them all on God's donuts. They'll do better, man. Once in a lifetime experience, babies. I'm telling you, you won't believe what's coming with these little donuts. But anyway, just don't give them anything to fight. Be loving, be natural, be normal. You don't I mean, when I say that, I don't mean as humans exist now. I mean, what comes forth naturally inside of you in these alone moments where you begin to realize and see who you are, who we are, and how blessed we are to be here and be able to endure this and then see past the illusion of the great pain inside us all, upon which all fear is based. And as this pain dissolves away, what goes with it? The fear. And what goes with that? The unconsciousness. So the subconscious becomes conscious again. Little by little, but pretty fast too. And you begin to see what's naturally here, what's truthfully here. And you understand no being is alone. All beings are conscious in the presence of themselves, including this wayward old segment we've called humanity. Babies, I love you. I'll talk to you again real soon. Keep on trucking, because that's what life is all about. Even when you're sitting still, you're propelling yourself through the universe at 1 billion miles an hour, riding on Mama Earth's back and nuzzling up against her breast, because that's where the comfort is. That's where the greatest love is. Don't be afraid to nuzzle with your mother. You're still a baby at heart. There's no shame in such a thing. Think about it, kids. Yeah, it's a metaphor, but it's a beautiful one. And so are you. Keep on rocking and rolling, kids. I'll see you next time around, right here on Video Free Coyote Omaha.